All right, back with your boy KP. What I'm gonna be doing today is changing out the steering wheel on the 1990 Cadillac Brougham, and it's got the telescoping steering wheel, and a lot of these little aftermarket kits, usually don't say they're designed for the telescoping one, but there's a little trick to it that I figured out, and yeah, so hopefully help you out right here. So check me out. All right, here you go. So the first thing you got to do when you take off the cover for the horn piece there, you're gonna have this little connector on it. That right there is like a little spindle for the to lock the telescoping part. So that right now is locked in, but when you use the turn switch over this way, just loosen up just a little bit, and the slot pops out. So I'm just gonna turn it by hand. See, that pops in and out. So the way you get that off is you just keep turning it counterclockwise, and it unscrews. It's just like a little nut that's in there. And when it's pushed, when that nut goes all the way in, it locks it into whatever position that it's in. So I'm just going to keep turning it by hand and take it all the way out. Because you can't get the steering wheel off unless you take this off anyway. So all it does is turn counterclockwise, and it comes out. That's pretty much all you got there. See, now what you're gonna need is you're gonna need to get a bolt at the hardware store, same type, same thread, and the same length, because to lock this thing back in place after you put the new hub on there, you're gonna have to screw a bolt back in that hole. And this, with this plate on there, ain't gonna fit in your hub or something. It may, but it may not. So, we'll see how that go. I'll check on it. But anyway, that's how you do it, to keep from doing that. And then you're going to need your puller. So you're going to need one of these little kits, steering wheel pulling kits. They cheap. Kit probably about $15, $20, so it ain't going to be no big deal. And then you're going to take your bolt off, or your nut for your steering wheel nut off of there, locking nut off. Take that off. You're going to reuse that. And then once you put the pullers on there, screw them in the two holes right there, and then slowly turn it until you pop it off. It's going to pop off pretty easy. Now, this part is actually screwed into the back of the steering wheel. So what it is it's got a spring on it for the telescoping part, but all it is it's really like your horn power connection. It touches these, you see in there, it touches these two leads there at all times, as while it's spring loaded, and then the horn is grounded to the shaft, and that's how you get it. So if I put it on there, you will see. Put it on the leads, and if I press down on it, see what I mean? There you go. So that's how you get your horn power right there. Not like the other ones that have a wire coming out. This one's made that way because it's telescoping. So that's how you got to do it. So what I think I'm gonna have to do is, I'm not going to mess with any of that stuff in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to solder a wire to that I can use to map out to the new steering wheel. And then once I get everything in place, I put that bolt in that hole. After I mount everything back, put the bolt in that hole, and that should be, that should lock in that should lock the telescoping part to wherever I need it to fit on there. So yeah, so that's pretty much it, but I'm gonna bring it back as I get to that part. See if I can get this thing soldered on, or get a wire to solder on. There's like two little brass leads in there, and I don't know if I can get some solder to hold on to it, but we'll find out real quick here. I probably have to rough them up with some sandpaper or something, just so I can get some solder to stick on them, because they're pretty smooth. Okay. All right, this is what I came up with. This is the bolt that actually screws in. This hex head on the top to lock in the telescoping part of the steering wheel. So instead of me going to get a bolt from the hardware store, I thought about it. I had my little hole punch here, so I just kind of like set it in between two bricks and knock this part out of there. So no damage to it, and it's flat enough head to where it'll sit flush on the lock nut on the steering wheel. So that's perfect right there. So I can screw this in at any time. So we good. All right. I'm going to get back out there and get on it. I'm back with my solution. All right. There's a little piece of rubber hose that's on the sleeve. I think that keeps it from the spring that slides on there from making contact with the shaft and, kicking the horn off. So this is what I came up with. You're going to need that spring because the steering wheel turn. The spring got to be there. So you really can't get rid of that. You can't put a wire in there and like solder it in. This got to be sliding on those contacts down there as the steering wheel turn in order for you to get a horn signal in any mode. And then, so what I decided to do was right in there, I soldered the wire straight to the spring, the metal right there, hiding behind the plastic. And then I cut a piece of this off because there's a little tip in there that's got to stay in place of this little metal spring. Keeps it locked in place if it's inside this little plastic piece. So I cut a little bit of it off because it's a little bit too long. And basically, I'm just going to have that where it just slides right up on there. And then that sits behind it and that goes through the hole. And now I got my feed wire coming through. Because the steering wheel is going to be turning, but this part is going to be, going with the flow. So you see what I mean? So, okay. Just like the original setup. And then I'm going to put it together and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. All right, I got the spring compressed and I had to line up the hub on there so it matches the steering wheel so it's nice straight up and down. The steering wheel is set to the right position. All right, here we go. As you can see, the spring is sitting back there. That plastic piece is keeping it off the metal so it's not activating the horn. It's never going to touch the sides of the metal because it's centered with that plastic piece, and that plastic piece is keeping it off there just like the original design. So as the steering wheel turn, it's sliding on them contacts, and you keep in constant contact, but it ain't touching the. You see, you got that little piece of PVC, little piece of hose in there. I don't know if you want to get you another piece and make it a little bit longer. I don't know. It probably ain't no big deal because there's no way for it to touch in there. Because once this thing is compressed, it compresses in like that. Then there you have it. So now what I'm going to do is put the little set screw back in the middle, and then I'll show you what I'm doing on that. All right. So while you got that part in, you can go ahead and put that on there. Go ahead and ratchet that down tight. I already got it pretty tight on there. So you got the hub back down on there, just locking that back down on there. So you're good on that. Now this part right here, you're going to need hex head bit to tighten it down on there. All right, now I'm setting this locking nut back in there. You push down on it and just keep locking it in until you get it all the way in. It should fit up that kind of flush. You see what I mean? It's all the way in there now. Pretty flush. Now check this out. See? It ain't coming out no more. It's on there. That's how you lock it in. Now all you got to do is hook up your horn. I got the wire right here for the power. You ain't got to worry about that causing any problems with the horn. And I'm going to put the steering wheel together and then bring it back and show you how it's working. You know what I'm saying? All right. All right, I'm back. I got it all mounted in there. You see, it's not moving. It's not sliding back and forth, so it's locked in place with that lock nut on there. And I've got you want to disconnect the battery and stuff like that while you mess with the horn thing, you know what I mean? And make sure that that hot wire that you put in there off the spring connects to the center connector. You got a center connector behind the horn piece and one off to the side. The side one is like the ground side. It's actually connected to the metal around the horn button. So if you connect the red one over there, or your hot lead over there, the horn's just gonna blow all the time. So let's check it out. Yes, sir. So that's how you do it, man. So when people say you can't use these on the telescoping ones, that's how you do it. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people out there that figured it out. But that's a sweet little technique right there. And y'all know how I do it. Last thing I want to add that I did that I didn't put in the video was I thought about it and I was thinking about the spring in the back of the hub that originally it had 3 screws in it that mounted to the back of the hub, the little plastic piece that holds the spring. So it turns with the steering wheel. But the way I had set it up on the video was I just had the wire going through there and it was kind of free floating. So I was like, I could probably, I've turned it so many times, could probably pinch that wire. And because then if it pinched the wire, then the horn would be blowing all the time. You couldn't cut it off. So I took it back off, and then through those same holes that's in the back of the plastic piece, I just drilled 3 holes in it, the size of my self-starting screws. Then I just put some screws in there, some set screws in there, and mounted it up to the back of the hub like the original was. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. And hope that helped you out right there. But it works, you know what I'm saying? It worked. You know what I'm saying? So next video, KP out.